also because I've known some friends of mine that had guys that would invite them out and then they would expect to pay for everything. They wanted to pay for everything, but then they also had the mindset, if I pay for it, it's a date. And the girl had no say on whether it was a date or not. So for me, just avoiding that whole mess, because if you're dating from scratch, you don't know anything about this person. So I don't know if that made sense.
No, it did. And I will have to say, I was told growing up that it's a date if you guys agree it's a date. It's not a date just because you're paying for it. Now I have heard that thing before where a guy's like, a guy said, "Oh, this girl I took out, I paid for her stuff, and she didn't want to see it as a date." Well, the thing is, I've learned it's not a date unless y'all agree on it, and that swings back to communication. So if you guys let's say you guys are on a friend level and you guys cannot straight up communicate that, hey, I want to date you and I want to take you out to dinner, and you don't say it's a date, then it's not a date. You guys could go to a movie together. You guys can have fun. But unless you say it's a date, it's not a date. I think what happens is we're thinking about Hollywood, where it just take a smile and a glint in the eye for two people to just start talking to each other. And then, hey, do you want to go to a baseball game? Sure. And then y'all just start kissing. And it's like the rainbows come up and angels and you hear the Lion King music. Can you feel the love and all that stuff? Well, unless you got the money to pay Elton John, that's not going to happen. So I think when people go out on dates, I think the man should pay. I know I pay. When I go on dates, I always pay for the first date. After that, we can discuss, Dutch or not, but I think a man should scout out the location. Like, if you can't afford to pay for a really expensive restaurant, don't go to the really expensive restaurant. If you can't pay for 2 of those plates, don't go to that restaurant. Find yourself something that you can pay for and afford. Take her to that. And if you can afford it, pay for both people. But if you can't, I would advise not even going to that really fancy $75 a plate restaurant.
I think I agree in that aspect. Definitely do your research. I'm definitely not against somebody paying for the first date, but I won't expect it. However, I am definitely old school when it comes to communication. Like, if we're gonna go, if you want to go on a date, like if you're actually considering, for me, I date for marriage. So before me and Lee got into a relationship, we were just friends, and I remember telling him, I will not, even though I would want to, I will not initiate the the dating process. I might know hands down that you like me. I know I like you, but I need you to initiate. Like, is this what you want? And then we can have a conversation from there. Just because I also think of that scripture where it says, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing. So not to say that women can't initiate things. I've had friends that approached men and everything turned out great. But just for me personally, I need to know that you actually are man enough to be able to initiate and say, hey, I think that this would be something that I need in my life. I need you in my life. So let's consider going further.
Yeah, and I think the word you're looking for is chivalry.
Yes, there we go.
And people said chivalry died a long time ago, but I believe in it. But here's the thing: not everyone will recognize chivalry, because sometimes chivalry can come off as disingenuous, because it's like, why are you so nice? Why are you doing this and that? I dated once, and the woman was like, she wasn't used to chivalry. She used to guys who didn't really care. So when I was like pulling out chairs, holding doors, she was like, oh, okay, because she wasn't used to it. So a lot of the stuff that we grew up on, and we have to keep this in mind as Christian people, we don't beat off the world. So something that we knew growing up may come off as alien to somebody else. So we see a dating thing, like we see, oh, we want to start off slow. We want to get to know the person, all that. Where other singles who aren't Christians, they may flip that on its head and they may do everything, and then after that, get to know the person. Well, if you do it that way, I think you run the risk of ending the relationship because you're like, I did all this stuff with the person, I don't know who they are, and I don't really like them, but I gave everything to them so quickly. And even in Christian relationships, that happens where you give your whole life energy to new people and you don't even know them. And part of that comes from you didn't communicate. And then, because like, I know stories of people who spend all of their energy to pursue somebody only for it to not be returned. And that comes out as a massive waste of time. You feel disappointed. You feel like, why did I even try to do this when it wasn't going to turn into anything? But I think one side we live and learn. Another side is better to take the steady route instead of just throwing it all in there and then suddenly you're involved with this person and you don't know who the person is. And worse yet, and I always hear this, the people get married and they're like, I don't even know who this person is. I just we want like a kick for going up, like that game on Price is Right, and then suddenly you get to the top and you just fall down. If you want to avoid that, communicate, talk. It could be something as simple as, hey, I don't have the funds tonight, but I want to go out, and let's say you already know each other. It's like, okay, cool. We'll pay half. You pay half. I'll pay half. Something like that. But paying Dutch, that's one of those things that can come up later.
I think that makes a lot of sense, definitely. Um, like I said, I don't disagree with either method, but I think you kind of brought up something that made me think of something, and I'm forgetting what it is. Dang it. Oh, that investing too much in the beginning of a relationship. I think um, Christians do that a lot more often now than a lot of people tend to think. We act like it doesn't happen, but it really does. Like people are like, oh, Christians really just, they're waiting for marriage, but a lot of them don't. A lot of Christians are surprised when I say I'm waiting for marriage. So I think the biggest thing is that we aren't even equipped to understand how much of our hearts and our emotions to invest into other people while we're getting to know them. And it's the same. I feel like friendship is so, so, so vital and so important. And even if you go from friendship to being in a relationship, that friendship is still the lifeline of the relationship. So you still have to build on that. And so for me, for the longest, I felt like I was dead set. I was like, I don't need to date because I feel like I find out everything I need to know just by being friends with the person. If they're really content with me as a person, like they really are like, you know what, I like this person, they'll be content with being authentic and real and honest in friendship. And I've seen that in my life and in a couple of other people's stories, is that the friendship is what really drew them to the person. And then they, within a year or a couple months, they were like, you know what, cool, let's move forward. And then they got married and everything, not was like peaches and cream, but you know, that friendship, that lifeline, that communication, releasing some expectations also really helped.
So yeah, like I was saying, with the with communication and things of that nature, and if you don't communicate, you're really not building anything. And so as far as like paying for Dutch or not, that's also communication. But I also want to talk about friend zoning. So you mentioned some stuff that made me think about like friend zoning and whatnot. What do you think of friend zoning? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
I think it depends again, because I think so much about these things and like, how do I feel about friend zoning? So I may not even have the correct definition, but from my perspective, I remember having people say that I friend zone people, and I was like, friend zone. in my perspective, is not a bad thing if it's me friend zoning the person. Because in my mind, I'm thinking you're not totally cut off from the possibility of a friendship. I mean, of a relationship in the future. However, when I'm in friendship, I'm evaluating this person. So I'm already deciding, do I even want to continue a relationship based on the characteristics I see? Because I know that a lot of people, once they get into a relationship, we tend to perform. We have rose colored glasses. We'll do everything that person wants us to do. So there's kind of a little bit of extra, fluff to where people feel really happy and excited because you kind of got that honeymoon phase going, even though you're not married. I think that just happens with any new relationship. So I think it is important to have the friendship as a basis first. So for me, when I say friend zoning, it just means I'm not dating right now. I'm just observing. I'm trying to figure out if these people in my circle are even somebody, or any of them are even people I would want to continue forward with.
Yeah,
Now, if I just decided, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, well, I was just saying, yeah, you're right. Um, I think certain people should be in your friend zone. Like they should be like sometimes people in the friend zone become your best friends. Sometimes people in your friend zone become your kid's uncle one day or aunt one day. People in the friend zone, they tend to be like your ride or die. They support you and you support them. Um, and then sometimes it segues into a relationship because that's just a natural course. You sometimes you want that friend zone to be elevated. You want them to be more than it's like, oh, this is really good. There's some feng shui going on here, and you want to bring them in more to the relationship. And when you do that, they kind of elevate from friend zone to relationship zone. And the great part is it's kind of like if you're a plane and you're coming into a foreign airport, the people on air traffic control will ask for your credentials. And if you don't have credentials, they'll say, oh, well, you can't land here. You got to keep going. Well, when someone's in the friend zone and they want to request to land into the relationship airport, if you already know who they are, I think you have better chance of a longer lasting relationship than if they were strangers.
I definitely agree with that. I love that analogy, that credentials before you can land kind of thing. I have a lot of friends, and a couple of them I actually had conversations with where when we first became friends, I wasn't really attracted to them. Like they weren't really my type kind of thing, physically, appearance wise. But I, through friendship, began to treasure that person. Like, you know what? I really like them. I like the way that they view things. I like how they think. I like the way that they treat me as a person. But again, I'm assessing these things and I'm like, you know what? And of course, I'm always praying about it because God is the best matchmaker. He'll be like, yes, that'll work. Nah, probably not that one. So I think that with that, you just weed out a lot of potential issues. And I'm walking through the same thing, having friendship and then having my, I shouldn't say my credentials. They're just what God placed in my heart, my desires, and having somebody that matched up with that. And then it's like, all right, bet we had a great friendship. Like you said, like best friends, your ride or die. Also, you have a couple different types, but one of those people that you're just like, all right, this person needs to be in my life. This person needs to be here forever, probably. So for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So I noticed one old couple. They are they're like BFFs, and they've been married for years. They're in their 70s, and they've been on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and they're really funny, like hilarious. Um, he mentioned, oh, we're going to be on America's Got Talent, but my wife's going to be on America's Most Wanted. It was hilarious, but anyway, they have a good relationship and they're each other's best friend and they happen to be married. We had a couple on, um, my buddy Anthony and his wife, and they were able to joke and carry on, and they're married. And I think many of us really want that. We want to have someone we're married to that we're just so comfortable with. that we don't have to perform. We can just let it all hang out, let your hair down and just be so comfortable. Because growing up, the best thing in the world was to be around your best friend. Your best friend didn't care what you did. Your best friend always looked out for you. You could have, food on your face. You can have dirt in your hair. Your best friend always, you're down for you. We want that in marriage, I think.
Think we definitely do, especially because if you're going to live the rest of your life with this person, you want to be comfortable in your own skin. And I firmly believe that a marriage is a reflection of Christ and the church, our relationship with God. And so, with Him fully knowing us and fully accepting us and allowing us to be who we are and discover who we are throughout our lives, and He just perfects us and make us more like Him. I think marriages function in the same way. They sharpen us, they refine us in different ways, they bring out different characteristics. We're given room to really learn who we are and explore just life in general. So you definitely need somebody that's willing to be patient, and you need to be patient with that person. There's a whole lot of other things that go into it that we don't have time to talk about tonight, but there's just so much with that level of comfort kind of thing, that at home feeling. Especially when you think of going from the family that you know, or even if somebody lives by themselves, like you are the family that you know, to welcome somebody else into that and abandon what you've known before, and to like bring your whole life together with this person until death do you part. That's a big deal, definitely a big deal. So I would say for sure people need to communicate. And we talked about that bridges over into the Dutch thing also. And then when it comes to friend zone, communicate, but don't be afraid of the friend zone necessarily, unless that person has very expressly said zilch, no, never ever, you know but I think there's no need to be afraid.
Well, I mean, we always hear us playing fish in the sea and things of that nature, but I think if you are good friends and you both come to an agreement on being good friends, I think it should stay that way. And no one should have any hurt feelings otherwise. But life is life, and we see ups and downs. I know couples who just came out of all the woodworks that you're like, really? How did y'all meet? I know a couple that met on World of Warcraft, of all places. They were friends on World of Warcraft. They were in each other's guild. I'm not a Warcraft player, but I know about guilds, and they became friends in guild, and then they eventually did more, and they became husband and wife. Now they have kids. So what I'm just saying is that you never know where a friend zone could lead. It may be a good thing. Sometimes a friend zone is a shelter to protect you. Sometimes those friends of like opposite genders may be there to kind of sustain you, so you can have practice on how to deal with the opposite sex. That can be a thing too. But all in all, I think if we don't talk to each other and we just assume things, I'm not gonna use the old adage, but when you assume, you really don't do yourself any favors or the other person. With that, I just want to say this has been a very fun episode of Singles Chat, and next time we'll have another special episode, and we'll have everybody in. But until then, I want to thank Juanica for coming. And if you like to join Singles Chat, you can just communicate with me. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us up on our Singles Chat page, Singles Chat, and we'll chat it up. All right. Well, good night, everyone, and good night, Juanica, and you have a good day.
Bye.